When you think of fast food, you probably picture burgers, fries, and milkshakes. Not exactly what you need when you're trying to survive an emergency. But in times of crisis, having access to quick, convenient meals can make a huge difference. Knowing which fast food can keep you going and which will just weigh you down is key, so pay close attention as we break down the best and worst fast food choices for survival. Imagine this, a heavy storm rolls in, the power goes out, and suddenly your neighborhood feels like something straight out of a survival movie. No lights, no internet, and worst of all, no access to food. Yup, even the grocery store is closed, and without electricity, your fridge is pretty much useless. This is exactly the kind of situation where convenient and long-lasting food is absolutely necessary. And if you're wondering what type of food you should keep, well, this video will be breaking down which fast foods could actually help you survive, and which ones are pretty much useless once the power's out. Let's start with the best fast food you'll need in emergency situations. Canned goods are the ultimate survival fast food. They're quick, easy, and last for ages. They don't need to be refrigerated and are ready to eat straight out of the can. No cooking or fancy equipment is needed. And one of the absolute best canned options is canned beans. Beans are packed with protein, fiber, and around 350 to 400 calories per can, depending on the type. Black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, and chickpeas all offer solid nutrition and help you stay full longer. But you can also get canned soups. These soups provide hydration and comfort during stressful situations. Options like chicken noodle or chili can offer 150 to 400 calories per can depending on the ingredients. And don't forget canned fruits and vegetables. They're not super high in calories, but excellent for vitamins. Another great survival food is smoked meat. Now this is straight out of Grandma and Grandpa's playbook because back in the day before freezers and little fridges were a thing, people didn't worry too much about chilling meat. Nope, they just put the meat in a smokehouse and let it sit there for days. This way the meat could last for months or even years without spoiling. In a survival situation, smoked meat is basically gold. We're talking serious calories here. A few slices of smoked ham or bacon can give you anywhere from 150 to 300 calories, packed with protein, fat, and that smoky flavor that just hits differently when the world's falling apart. Now, there is a little catch though. Once you cut into that glorious chunk of meat, you have to eat it pretty quickly or refrigerate it if you can. But hey, that's not exactly a problem. Smoked meat is survival food with flavor, calories, and old school cool. Protein bars are a good option. When it comes to surviving on the go, protein bars are basically your best friend. These little pocket-sized fast foods are like carrying a meal in your back pocket with no cooking, no freezing, and no cleanup. Just unwrap and chow down. And in a survival situation, that convenience is exactly what you need. But not all protein bars are the same. You don't want to just grab the ones that taste like candy with 30 grams of sugar and call it a day. The real MVPs are the bars that balance proteins, fats, and carbs. You know, the stuff your body actually needs to keep going. And a good protein bar usually packs around 200 to 300 calories, sometimes even more depending on the brand. Some of the bigger, more denser bars can hit 400 plus calories, which is huge when food is scarce. But the best part, most protein bars have a pretty impressive shelf life. We're talking a year or longer if stored properly. That makes them perfect for putting in a go bag, glove compartment, or emergency kit. Quick, easy, and energy-dense protein bars, survival food made simple. Next up is crackers. Sure, crackers don't sound like hardcore survival food, but don't sleep on these crunchy little snacks. Saltines, Ritz, or even sweet graham crackers. They're lightweight, tasty, and loaded with quick energy when you need it most. Plus, they're super easy to carry and don't need to be cooked or prepared. Just open the package and start munching. But now let's talk about survival points. Crackers are mostly carbs, which means quick calories when your body is losing energy. Depending on the type, a serving of crackers can give you anywhere from 70 to 150 calories. Let's be real, nobody's stopping at one serving when they're hungry. But here's the downside: shelf life. Crackers aren't going to last forever. Regular saltines or Ritz crackers, if stored properly in small sealed packs or airtight bags, can last around 6 to 8 months past their expiration date. Graham crackers, not quite as tough. They usually start going stale after 2 months. Still, in an emergency, crackers are a cheap, lightweight way to stretch a meal or snack on the go. Pair them with peanut butter or canned meat and suddenly you've got a quick feast. Now, it's a common fact that hydration is important, especially in emergencies. However, you can also add powdered drink mixes to your survival kit because plain water, well, it gets boring really fast. In survival situations, instant coffee, tea bags, electrolyte powders, or even powdered Gatorade can turn boring hydration into something a little more exciting and sometimes a little more necessary. But powdered drink mixes really shine when it comes to electrolytes. When you've been sweating, moving, or rationing food, your body loses salt and minerals fast. Gatorade powder or electrolyte mixes help restore those. And most of these drink mixes have a crazy long shelf life too, often lasting 2 to 3 years when kept sealed and dry. And they're super lightweight, making them perfect for emergency kits or bug-out bags. So now let's take a look at foods that are absolutely not fit for survival situations. Let's start with salads. Salads might look like a light and healthy choice, but in a survival situation, they're more of a liability than anything else. Sure, they're fresh, crispy, and loaded with vitamins, but that's where the pros end. Without proper refrigeration, salads go bad really fast, and in an emergency, you don't have the luxury of keeping things frozen. And fresh greens and veggies, well, they're also perishable. Depending on the type, they usually last a few hours to a couple of days. That's just not enough time to keep you going when food storage is limited and every meal counts. Plus, they don't offer much in terms of calories, protein, or long-lasting energy. So in an emergency where every bite counts, salads are a failure. And that's pretty much the same deal with sandwiches. Sandwiches may be a fast, convenient meal on a regular day, but in an emergency, not so much. While they can be tasty and filling, they're loaded with perishable ingredients like deli meats, cheese, and fresh veggies that spoil quickly. Sandwiches also don't offer the best long-term sustenance. Sure, a turkey and cheese sandwich might fill you up for a while, but it won't provide enough calories, protein, or fat to keep you going in a survival situation. And if the bread gets soggy or stale, you're left with a pile of mush that's just not worth it. In an emergency, sandwiches are definitely a fail. Go for something shelf-stable and calorie-dense instead. Now, while hydration is key, you don't want to be stuck with sugary sodas when you're trying to survive. They may seem refreshing at the moment, but they're a total fail in the long run. Sure, that fizzy sweetness gives you a quick energy boost, but it's short-lived. Packed with sugar and empty calories, sodas offer little to no nutritional value. Once the sugar rush wears off, you'll be hit with a crash, leaving you feeling more tired and slow than before. And don't forget about hydration, because soda doesn't help much there either. In fact, the caffeine and sugar can actually dehydrate you, making it harder to stay properly hydrated in an emergency situation. When your body needs real fuel and lasting hydration, sodas aren't a good choice. Stick with water, electrolytes, or even a solid soup for hydration. Leave the sugary soda behind. It's just not worth the crash. Frozen foods are another terrible option. They might be a staple in the regular kitchen, but when it comes to emergencies, they're a huge fail. Why? Because they rely on freezers to stay fresh. Unless you've got a working freezer in a crisis, well, you're out of luck. Without a freezer, frozen meals will defrost quickly, turning into a soggy mess and potentially making you sick if it's been left out too long. Even if you have access to a working freezer before disaster strikes, frozen foods are usually pretty specific in terms of preparation. You need electricity, a stove, or a microwave to make them edible, none of which are guaranteed in a survival situation. Instead, go for non-perishable, easy-to-prepare options that don't require freezing or special tools. In an emergency, frozen foods just aren't practical. That's just like desserts. Sure, desserts are delicious and they satisfy a sweet tooth, but in an emergency, they're a total fail. Packed with sugar and fats, these treats may give you a quick sugar high, but they'll leave you feeling tired shortly after. And they provide little in terms of essential nutrients like protein, fiber, or vitamins that you actually need to keep going when survival is the priority. In a crisis, you need a boost that lasts, not a temporary sugar rush that quickly fades and leaves you tired and sluggish. Plus, desserts don't usually offer much in terms of calories or long-lasting energy. So while they might be a nice comfort snack when you're safe and sound, they won't get you through an emergency. Skip the pastries and go for foods that provide real sustenance, like protein-packed snacks or hearty canned goods. However, to truly prepare, it's not only about the snacks you choose. Ensuring that your supplies are reliable and long-lasting is important too. In a pinch, a little creativity can go a long way, and you might have to get creative with cooking or even find new ways to stretch your food supply. So while fast food in an emergency isn't the gourmet solution, it can definitely play an important role in keeping you alive when things get rough. Having that stash of non-perishables could make all the difference when survival is on the line. Stay prepared, stay creative, and remember food isn't only for eating, it's for surviving. Which of these will you stock your pantry with? Let us know in the comments section and enjoy our other videos.